Okay.
Are you recording, Catherine?
I am indeed.
Perfect.
Okay, great. So thanks to everyone for coming. This is the Division of Science. This event is put together by the Division of Science Student Council. This is the student research panel. So thank you for coming, everybody. We appreciate that. We'd like to start off with opening remarks from Dr. Karen Block.
Are we starting?
Yep.
Okay. All right. Everybody can hear me okay. I apologize in advance if I suddenly cut out or start sounding like a robot. It happens. I'm sharing bandwidth with my daughter who is in school remotely. And you know what I'm going to do just so that we can pretend like we are at City College. I am going to put a City College fall background behind me. And that way, you know, we can pretend that we're there because we all miss seeing each other in person and being at the college. And even though I'm over on the other side of Convent Avenue in Marshak, this is close enough, right? We can see some blue sky and fall trees. So I'm going to start a timer so that I don't run too long because I can talk for hours like most of your professors. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Karen Block and I'm an associate professor in the Department of Earth and Atmospheric Sciences. I am a mineralogist petrologist. And what I do is I study how minerals interact in lots of different systems. I also teach the introductory Earth System Science class and a geochemistry class. And last year I was the undergraduate research coordinator for the Division of Science and for the medical school. I'm not officially doing that this year, but I'm still doing some aspects of that job, in part because my work there was interrupted by COVID, and I would like to leave some things in place. And so I wanted to share with you my feelings about undergraduate research, which is something that I am very committed to and I think is incredibly important, in part because that's part of the mission of what we do here at the college, is to try to prepare all of you for a career out there in the big, broad world where you can actually apply the skills that you have learned at City College. And so I want to say to you several different things. First of all, things are challenging right now because of the pandemic, and we are all struggling to some extent, to varying extents. But I'm really gratified to see that so many of you made it to this meeting, and hopefully others will view this presentation remotely so that you are encouraged by the fact that research is still going on. So as you know, many of you might be thinking, well, you know, I can't get into the lab, I'm not able to handle a pipette. How am I going to actually do research if I am not in the lab? And what I want to emphasize is that there are still many opportunities to do research, that in this new mode, there's still lots of data that need to be dealt with, processed, put in context, and your professors and the researchers at the college still need student assistance in order to do this work. There are lots of student opportunities that can be run remotely. I know that this past summer, even though it was very short notice, some of my colleagues that run research experiences for undergraduates did things like, for example, ship out microscopes to the participants all over the country. So there are many different ways in which we can still participate in research. And I, as a researcher of 20 years, can tell you that although it is fun to get your hands dirty in the lab and to tinker with instruments, at the end of the day, what we care about is the science, the generation of new knowledge, and moving it forward, even if it's, you know, a little bit at a time. Every little bit actually builds on the general base of knowledge that can change the world. And so I want you to focus on the end goal, and the end goal is to be able to transmit new knowledge into the world. So, you know, for someone like me, I look forward to the data. Even though instruments are fun and working in the lab is a nice bit of work, I prefer now to have my hands on the data so that I can process it. And so I want you to try to shift your thinking in what it means to do research and how you can still do that while not necessarily being in person, but there's a lot that we can all still do. Some of the things that I want to encourage you to think about is that I know that some of you might be hesitant to approach faculty because, you know, we sometimes seem very unapproachable and we're all so busy and you feel like we might be interrupting. And the fact is that, yes, faculty are very, very busy. We work in these boundless jobs where we just keep taking on more and more and more and more stuff. That's just the nature of what we do. But that should not stop you, because part of what we do is educate and train. And so you are part of our mission, part of our duty. And I encourage you to visit office hours, you know, just show up, even if it's to say hi. If you have weekly check-ins with your professors, so your professors get to know you and they start to learn more about what you're interested in. Because if you click with someone, even if you don't want to work in doing research with them, they may be able to direct you towards someone that is doing the kind of research that you're interested in, and they may be able to facilitate an introduction. Furthermore, what I want to also emphasize is that those sorts of visits to office hours are the best way for you to start accumulating those letters of recommendation, those references if you plan to apply to research experiences outside of the college or even within the college. If all anyone can say about you is this person showed up and they got an A in my class or they got a B in my class, that's not a lot. But if your professor says this person came to office hours and told me about what they were thinking and what they enjoy and the sorts of research that they're interested in, that actually has a bit more substance to what someone can write in a letter of recommendation. So please take advantage of that time. That time is yours. And your professors love to talk about themselves and their research. So make them do that. Listen to what they have to say. And maybe, you know, you will find mentors in the most unlikely of people. Another thing that I wanted to also emphasize is that even if you are not a straight A student, that should not stop you from reaching out to a professor and asking if you can potentially assist in the lab or if you can do some work, because you have lots of different strengths. You have things that you might do. If you have experience working even in a retail job and being the person that opens and closes the store, that's a tremendous responsibility. That says a lot about what kind of dependable human being you are. And all of that is really, really important if you are working with a faculty member. All of that experience is part of your assets. And so you should be proud of that. Being in the lab often makes us focus better in the work that we're doing because it provides a context. And so I, as a researcher, often take students that may not be at the top 5% of my class. But if they show the right attitude and dedication, I know that they can potentially fit in to the lab scheme that we have, and potentially we can open new doors for them. So, don't focus too much about what you don't have, and think about the things that you do have. Your motivation and your dedication, because we all live with different boundary conditions that dictate what we can and can't do, and how much time we can dedicate. But I really want to really encourage you to try to join a group, because also within a research group, you get to know other people, you develop community, and that gives a sense of belonging. For many of you who are students of many different backgrounds, whether you are Asian, Black, Latino, you will find your community at City College. That's who we are. We are very, very diverse. We have a lot of different peoples coming from everywhere in the world. And I think that a lab is a really great opportunity to establish a really deep connection with our peers and with our friends. And it gives you a sense of out there doing science. So don't let any of those things stand in your way. So for the last couple of minutes, I'm going to actually, I want to, first of all, thank the Division of Science Student Council for inviting me to say words to you, and for organizing this event and the one happening next week on research opportunities. I think it's a fantastic effort, and I really commend your motivation to do this. We have a great panel of student researchers that are going to be talking about different aspects of their work, and I'm really looking forward to hearing what they have to say. But I want to share my screen very briefly so that I show you something that I've been working on, sort of my gift to the Division of Science and to City College as an undergraduate research coordinator. And that is a website that I created, Commons Environment. If you're a City College student, that means that you can sign up to CUNY Commons automatically by virtue of having a CUNY email address. And many of you have used that platform as part of your writing and so on. But if it's very, and we will broadcast information to and oh,
we might have lost Karen.
I think we did lose Dr. Block, and it sounds like she was at the end of her segment, and she was going to be sharing her website. So when she comes on, I'll ask us to just pause, because she's probably going to rejoin, and then she'll share that out with us. But also, if for whatever reason she cannot come back on, we'll be sending out a follow-up email to everyone who has RSVP'd, so everyone here in the chat today, with the information that she wanted to share, because she has been working on a site. I'm going to mute myself now so then Jason can go back to taking over.
Okay. So most of the department leaders we have here for the Division of Science Student Council are panelists, and they'll introduce themselves. They'll have the time to introduce themselves. But there are some people, there are some department leaders that are not panelists. One of them is...
Sorry about that.
Oh, it's okay. Elaine Millen with Earth and Material Science, Mohammad Ganim with Biology, and Anastasia Dita with Chemistry / Biochemistry. She's also the president of Baskerville. Before I let the students introduce themselves, was there something else you wanted to say, Dr. Block, before we move on? Because you got cut off at the end there.
Yeah, I was about to share my screen to share the undergraduate research website and group that is in progress, but then suddenly my internet decided to quit because that's how it goes. I don't know if I'm able to share the screen, but if you do that for me, that would be great. I can? Okay, great. I'm going to do that right now. Okay. I think that you should be able to see the undergraduate research at CCNY website. Can everybody see that?
Yep, we could see it.
You can see it? Okay, great. So this is the website that is in progress. It will have information for members and for students. But the platform that is currently working is the undergraduate research group. And what I will do is I will share this link in the chat so that you can navigate to it. And if you go to that page, what you will see is that there are posts of different opportunities that are shared with several of us in the faculty on where you can apply to get research experience. And Homeland Security, the Department of Energy, the NIH all have lots of student opportunities. Those are recurring. I'm going to post on the website. For the ones that we receive periodically, they will be sent directly to this page. And then you can subscribe to either a daily email, a weekly summary, or no email at all if you choose to just visit the group to check what has been posted recently. But this is a really good way to keep up with opportunities as they come up so that you can apply. And we are right now nearing REU season. Those applications are going to be due starting in December of this year. So I will post on the undergraduate research website some tips on how to apply for those opportunities so that you can maximize your chances of being able to do research in the summer at many different programs across the country. Anyway, that's all I have to say. And so, Jason, I will kick the ball back to you.
Thank you, Dr. Block, so much. So I'll start off.
Karen, don't forget to put the website link on the chat, please.
Okay. So we'll start off with the department leaders that are not panelists. The first one is Elaine Millen. So she sent me her bio here. So you can see a picture of her too. She said, from a very young age, I've always been fascinated by weather, whether they be sunny days or fierce storms. Being curious about the mechanisms behind these events is what led me to choose the major of environmental earth systems science with a concentration in hydrology and climate. Now more than ever, I believe that it is important to educate ourselves about the planet with the threat of global warming, which has greatly interested me. I plan to further my education to become a meteorologist and educate others on climate change and more sustainable practices. When I'm not worrying about the impending doom of climate change, I take the time to enjoy nature with bicycle riding. I also enjoy drawing and swimming. So that's Elaine there for you. Next up, we have Mohammad Ganim. So Mohammad.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Jason. So yeah, my name is Mohammad Ganim, and I am one of the biology department leaders. And the other one is also on the panel. Her name is Denise, you will meet her later. And I'm also the vice president of the biology club. And I actually started volunteering at in the Dr. Whitney's lab about a year ago. However, due to the coronavirus, everything I did at his lab was kind of canceled. And now I'm just doing a peer review on how COVID-19 impacts the human brain and its repercussions on the rest of the human body, which is, COVID will not stop me. And then the other one is I also work part-time as an EMT at both Jamaica Hospital and a private company called Senior Care EMS. And on my free time, I volunteer at my local Taekwondo center because I've been doing that for about 5 years. And I also take care of my plants because horticulture is a big part of me, I believe. And yes, and without further ado, I'm gonna let each of the panelists introduce themselves.
We have one more department leader, Anastasia. Is she here? Yeah, Anastasia Dita.
Hi, everyone. I am the department leader for chemistry and biochemistry. I decided to be a chemistry major because I've always been curious as to why everything exists the way it is. But I also like imagining things, so that's why I decided to pick chemistry over physics. I am a firm believer in creating opportunities and allowing everyone to have access to what is available. So I really push forward to having everyone in my club, the Basketball Chemical Society, which I'm the president of, have the be aware of everything that's going on and opportunities. And that's also why I decided to join the student council, is so that I can further help everyone else obtain opportunities that maybe they didn't have a chance or didn't know existed prior.
Thank you very much, Anastasia. So now we'll let the panelists introduce themselves. So we'll start off with Denise Moran from biology.
Hey everybody, can everybody hear me? I might sound a little sickly because I've been sick this week, but I got my results back this week, so it's not COVID, so I'm okay. But so pardon me if I sound a little icky. So, like I said, my name is Denise Moran. I am a senior undergraduate researcher at City College. I am set to graduate this December, so I'm really excited about that. I am a biology major, a chem minor. I am also a MARC scholar at City College. I'm also the biology representative for the Division of Science Student Council, along with Mo. I am also a CCAP mentor, tutor, and I'm on their advisory board. And I'm also the event coordinator for CCNY Women in Science. And this year I co-founded an organization with my sister called the Latinx Vote, which I'll tell you a little bit more about. So first I want to talk to you guys, I want to give you a little bit background on my research and just basically how I got into research. So in 2018, I was taking Bio 102 and my professor actually put out an ad for the Emerson Lab. And so during this time, I was still pre-med and I wasn't looking to really do research. But this specific research was very interesting to me just because it was not only an experience to get research in something that I had not really known too much about, which was like the retinal generation of the eye. It was also an outreach opportunity. So in September of 2018, I started to do research in the Emerson lab under Shiranjut Singh, and we basically focused on the Notch signaling pathway and the importance of in the transcription of essential proteins in the formation of the retina. And so I fell in love with that research because it felt like I was applying what I was actually learning in class, and it felt like real application of the stuff I was learning in Bio 102 and in my genetics class. And I ended up falling in love with research. And then what furthered that was the outreach portion, which took place in January of 2019. And this outreach was with middle schools, and we went to these middle schools and we did experiments with the kids. We did 2 different experiments at 3 different middle schools, and just seeing how appreciative they were of the science and how willing they were to learn and find out more about, you know, what I did and what my research was. And they were just so shocked that, like, you know, I looked like them. These were kids from BIPOC communities, and they were looking to, you know, they were, when they thought of scientists, they didn't think of a Latina, you know, who was coming in with, like, you know, Jordans on, and like they were just so amazed. Like, they're like, "You're a scientist?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm a scientist." So that really pushed me to want to do like more outreach stuff, as well as stay in research to, you know, show them like what a scientist looks like and that they could also be scientists. And so that did propel me into doing more outreach work within CCNY WINS. So currently in the CCNY WINS, we're trying to do outreach with middle schools as well. We're trying to bring them stories in STEM. So we're trying to really show them what a scientist looks like and show them what scientists go through at all levels of science, you know, postdoc, undergraduate, graduate, and all those levels of academia, and really just like what it is to be a scientist and the realities of being a scientist. And also on top of that, what I wanted to do before COVID was actually also have CCNY WINS do the same thing that I did with the Emerson Lab, which was to bring these experiments to the kids and do this within the Harlem community with more schools, and have like them come to our campus and like show them like a day in the life of a scientist, you know, just to really encourage more youth, more children to get into science. Because you can ask any kid, what's your least favorite subject? And unfortunately, they're always going to say science. And it's because we're told that it's so difficult. And I like, one of my biggest goals is to kill that stigma that science is hard and that you can't do science, because I wasn't always like a science student. I didn't start off like, I wasn't in middle school, high school, excelling in my science courses. It wasn't until college that I was like, I like science and I'm going to be good at it. And I pushed myself. And you know, I went through a lot of different, I wanted to do pre-med, and then when I got into research, I fell in love with how much research actually loved science. Like in research, you have to love science. You have to love to be curious, and you have to want to ask these questions and want to dig deeper about the smallest thing. And just like that curiosity was always in me. And when I started to do research at Dr. Emerson's lab, it really showed me like the importance of research and the importance of representation, and just how, if you really love science, like research is really like where it's at. And so I really developed like a greater love for science when I started doing research, more than I like already had. And yeah, so that's just like a little bit, but as we go on with the questions, I'll definitely talk about more about my research now after COVID. Since I'm not in the lab anymore, my research has obviously become remote and is online, but it's still just as fulfilling. And like Karen said, the science still continues, you know, just because I'm not in the lab hands-on, I'm still, you know, I'm still reading the papers, I'm still doing the work, because it still matters, you know, any way I can contribute, it matters. So that's my piece.
Thank you so much, Denise. That was great. Next up, we have Brenda De La Monica for math.
Hi, everybody. Thanks, Jason. I'm Brenda. Can you guys hear me? Yeah.
Yep.
Great. Okay. So I'm Brenda. I'm actually a master's student. I'm in my second year of my master's in mathematics at City College. And this summer, I did a research project with Professor Shu through the Rich Summer Internship program that the math department has. And what I worked on was the the use of dynamical systems to model metastatic cell behavior, and which I think is pretty interesting. It was like a really interesting project. I don't have a very strong bio background. I haven't taken biology since I was in high school, which was a long time ago. And I learned a lot in this kind of like applied math setting. I worked closely with biologists and biomedical engineers in Stony Brook, and I was able to use what I've learned over the years in math and what I learned with Professor Shub over the summer as well. I was able to apply these really abstract concepts in something that was like real and significant and changed kind of like ameliorated some of these biologists like previous results, and also kind of gave them opportunities to ask more questions about kind of the experiments they'd already done. So that was really cool. I'm much more interested in general in applied math. So I can't speak to like theoretical pure math research, but I've not at City College. In undergrad, I did a lot of applied math research as well. And a little bit about myself, I have like several hobbies. I tend to take on like really random projects to like learn new skills. But most recently, I've started a nonprofit with a few friends of mine to change legislature to better defend assault victims. That's like my new.
I'm so sorry. That was my fault. I muted the wrong person.
Okay. Well, I was done. So we're good. We can move on to the next student.
Can you just say the last bit at the very end once more?
Oh, okay, sure. Yeah. So I'm working, I'm started a nonprofit with a few of my friends to change legislature to better defend assault victims. So it's like an outside of school project that I've been working on very recently.
Thank you very much, Brenda. Next up, we have Shiranjut Singh for physics.
Is it working? Hi, can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you.
Yep, we can hear you.
Hi, my name is Shiranjut Singh. I am a sophomore at CCNY. I'm in my 4th semester. I'm a physics major as well as an international student from India. And like I started my research really early in my freshman year. And I started it in my 1st semester of my freshman year. And the reason why I was able to do that was not because I had any GPA or something, because since I was an international student, I did not have any AP scores either, because we don't have AP classes over there. But the reason why I was able to start doing research was because I talked to my chemistry professor, the professor I was taking at that time for my chemistry 103, Professor Elizabeth Fright. We were just talking about randomly about the general topics in chemistry, and it led to the conversation about what I want to do when I grow up. Like, I want to do a PhD in physics and become a researcher. And from there, I talked to the professor about what else I need to do instead of getting a degree if I want to be a really good researcher. And she recommended me to one of the professors in the biophysics department, named Professor Ranajit Khos. He works at the NMR spectroscopy and molecular biology section. And I'll be honest, I am not really that good in the biology section, because I took biology like only a little bit in my high school, and after that I was completely in the physics, math, and chemistry department. So when I talked to Professor Ranajit, we conversed about what I can do, what I cannot do, and he said that I can do the computational part of the lab for that time. And even though I did not have that much experience in computation at that time, I think I learned a lot, even though I was not able to finish an actual project. While I was working with Professor Ranajit, I was able to learn how to use. So the thing I did over there was I took the PDB files of different protein structures, and I wrote a Python script to list all the coordinates of the atoms in the PDB file. And if you want to like find the distance between any two atoms, you can just put their indices in there, and you would get the results in any specific measurement you wanted, if it's a micrometer, a meter, a nanometer. And that was my work with Professor Ranajit course. And after my first year, I decided. So here's the thing: most of the students like think that, like I got a good research professor, I want to work with him, because just because I got the opportunity, right? And there are some students who think that I want to do research with someone who works in the field I'm interested in. Now, I've gotten mixed opinions about this from various people. Some people say you should work with a professor who is really good at giving you projects, because some professors are busy and don't really respond to you that much. While some people are really focused on working in doing research in the field um, where they're interested in. So I would say you can take like a balance of both, because in my third semester, in the last semester, in spring 2020, I talked to Professor Ranajit about changing my um, research field, the one I was doing right now, and he said that it's totally fine. And I later talked to another professor named Professor Vinod Menon, who works in the nanomaterials department. He works on the light matter interactions, like plasmonions, all the polaritons, all that stuff. And we talked about doing research in the summer. And from this summer, I was gonna do like in this summer I was gonna do like I was going to help one of the postdocs in doing a research project during summer, and after that, in the fall, I was going to do my own research project. But thanks to Mr. Coronavirus, the entire world just shut down and everything was paused. However, my professor did tell me that in this meantime, while I'm unable to go to the lab, because Professor Vinod works really experimentally, he's an experimentalist. So he told me to read a little bit about what kind of stuff he has done, because he has his website, lanmp.org, and he told me to read about the stuff he has done, and I did that. And after that, in this semester, he told me that I can work on 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 connecting different softwares of a microscope, which another postdoc at his lab is working on. So the postdoc is right now assembling the microscope and all the motors which are going to change the position of the microscope. And I'm going to work with him in automating the microscope so that we can get the intensity of the light that we're getting from the crystals on the photodiode at every single z-axis. So for every single layer of z-axis, let's say for every 1 micrometer, we would get a different level of intensity, and we're going to work on that. As for what else I am a part of the physics club, and I was also one of the co-founders of the one of the co-founder members. I think it was in fall 2019. We found the Sikh Student Association Club, because like I'm from the Sikh religion, and we found that there wasn't any any club over here to represent that community, so we found that. And let's see, I also draw comics, I also sing, I make music as well, and I'm also working on writing a book. As for my future goals, I want to get a PhD in particle physics, especially quantum field theory or general relativity. Probably QFT is like my preferred field. Um, and I want to be a theoretical physicist later on. Probably work at, my ideal goal would be to work at MIT. So that's it for me.
Oh, thank you, Charanjot. Okay, next up we have Navita Raksha Vinoles. She's from Sustainability in the Urban Environment.
Hi, I'm Navita Vignoles. I am here from Sustainability. Currently, I am a Master of Science in the Urban Sustainability Masters at City College, and I got my Bachelor of Science in Environmental Science, Ecology specifically, from St. John's University. And currently, I am working on a research project with my awesome partner, Carolina, that focuses on comparing children's education at botanic institutions across New York City. And because of coronavirus, we had to pivot onto this idea. Originally, we were supposed to work with children, and now we can't work with children. but that's okay. Research will still go on, and it is going on. And I wanted to talk a little bit about my first research opportunity, and it was really funny hearing Dr. Block talk because it was very much what I had written down for myself to say. So at St. John's, I had to really find botanical sciences and it's just not a thing or readily available as normal biology is. So environmental science and botany students kind of get lumped with that. And I was super excited to find my professor Richard Stalter's class in botany and environmental science and ecology. And I guess all of my enthusiasm was poured out onto him, and we became really good friends by the end of the semester. And I just told him I really wanted to do research with him. And over the summer, he found a grant and he just asked me to work with him. So back to what Dr. Block said, if you just don't be scared to talk to your professors or go to office hours. They're people who are studying the things that they love and they want to talk to you about it. So just ask them about it and it'll be awesome. One challenge I face while doing research in school and life is balancing it. And I find that if I dedicate certain days to certain things, like say Monday, I'll do homework for all my classes, or Tuesday, I'll do research. It really compartmentalizes things for me and keeps things straight and I can deal with it. And before I close this up, I just wanted to tell you a few fun facts about me. If it wasn't apparent already, I love plants. And I used to work at the New York Botanic Garden before the coronavirus canceled my life. I love growing plants, I love eating plants, I love talking about them, teaching about them, just everything with plants. And the most exciting thing that happened to me this week was we work with the ASPCA to trap, neuter, and release cats. And I've been doing that in my backyard. And we caught a weird looking cat. It was actually a raccoon and it was really scary. And that's my shtick.
Thank you so much, Navita. Sounds like an interesting journey you had there. Next up, we have Caitlin Toy from chemistry.
Hi. Excuse me if my internet's a little bad. I'm actually at the Advanced Science Research Center right now, and kind of in like a random corner just to do this. So hopefully it doesn't cut out. But yeah, I'm a biochemistry major in my last year. So I'm graduating spring 2021. And my first opportunity in research, I actually got like the end of my freshman year. So what had happened was, I think there was some kind of STEM event for Macaulay, and I'm in Macaulay, but there's probably a whole bunch of other city college events as well where you can go and talk to a bunch of researchers, they present their work, and then you can go and have some kind of way to network yourself in. And so I remember my PI right now, Kevin Gardner, he had spoken and I really enjoyed his research. His research is on two things. It's on HIF proteins, so hypoxia-inducible factors, as well as these light-sensing proteins called LOB histidine kinases. And so because I had the chance to talk to him back then, we hit it off really well, and he allowed me to work in his lab, work under a mentor for a while, and then also start honors research with him as well. So I'm completing my last year in honors research and will hopefully be presenting by the end of the semester. But in terms of like how my college experience has changed since I started research, I think it just makes it a lot more interesting and a lot more busy. Like it's just not all about going to classes and like Dr. Block saying, just learning. It's also about applying what you learn in the lab and also kind of figuring out, oh, like that's what I learned in lab and now I'm also learning it in class, or the other way around, vice versa. And so it's really interesting to apply those skills both like inside and outside the lab. And even in general, just the way that you do research and the way that you think about research, you can really apply to anything. Like even if you don't want to be a researcher, this idea that you have to think through problems and analyze and assess a situation and keep asking questions when you have to ask questions is applicable to almost everything I do. So whether you're a doctor, I also work part-time for Deerfield Management, and a lot of what they teach as like a financial like hedge fund firm in healthcare is to really just keep asking questions. And a lot of that has been really taught and rooted into me because of research. So that's been super interesting as well. And managing schoolwork and research, I would say, is something similar to what Navita was talking about. I think for me, it's good to know, okay, I have like a list of things to do, and I can get them done on Mondays, Fridays, and do research in this block of time. And then simultaneously, there's always time like in between experiments where you can kind of get some studying done as well. So it shouldn't be too horrible to balance, but it for sure is a bit of a, I guess it's a bit of a juggling act, but once you get used to it, it's really nice. And yeah, I think that's really all I have to say.
Well, thank you very much, Caitlin. Thank you. So next up, we have some questions now for the panelists. We do have quite a few questions that were submitted through the RSVP, through the little link that we sent out to everybody. So we'll definitely get to those questions too. But we'll start off a little bit with some of the questions we came up with. So first, how did you get your first research opportunity? And we'll keep the same order that we did the introductions in. So first, we'll go with Denise.
Hey, so I feel like I kind of touched on this in my intro. I started working at the Emerson Lab through, it was something that one of my biology professors had put out for us to apply to. And I was so nervous because I had never had experience in research prior to this. And I was only a sophomore when I applied. So I actually think I was a junior when I applied, and he was only looking for like freshmen and sophomores. So I was like, I'm not even going to get qualified, but let me just apply anyway. And like I said, I did get accepted, and it was like the happiest day of my life. I was so excited because the lab was so beautiful, and I was just like, I can't believe they're accepting me to work here. And so when I started working at the lab, it was mainly just like them going through the motions with me, just teaching me how to do like really basic stuff, like learning how to do a gel. And I was given so many papers to read, and I was so overwhelmed. I was like, oh my God. And I remember reading these papers and having to Google like every other word because there's so much jargon. And I was just so like, but I loved being in the lab and like actually watching like what I was like being taught, like learning how to do all these things. They were teaching me how to open up like a retina of a chick eye, like break the chick open, like the chick egg, and like take that all out. Like it was so interesting to me. And it's just like slowly but surely I learned the jargon that we were learning in the lab. And it's a lab that I'm still in now. And it's like, I feel so lucky because I know a lot of people don't usually get the lab. Their first lab isn't always a lab that they love, or some people don't have a great like first lab experience. And I was really lucky to have the PI that I do. Dr. Emerson is so supportive. He's, especially with this COVID transition, he made sure that like we wouldn't feel like lost in our project, or like we wouldn't feel like we just abandoned a project, like, so yeah, my research experience really just comes down to this one lab, but this one lab is like everything to me. And it really changed, like when I joined this lab, it changed the course of like what I would literally say my life, because prior to this I was pre-med, and it pushed me into research, and it made me love research. And to the point where sometimes I'm like, like I know I eventually have to apply to grad school and apply to a different lab, and I have to leave this lab, but I don't want to, but I know I have to eventually.
Thank you. And next we have is Brenda.
Hi, thanks. Jason, should I talk about, because the question is, how did you get your first research experience? Should I talk about City College, or should I talk about my undergrad experience outside of City College, like as a master's student or undergrad?
I think briefly about both. Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
it's very relevant.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think it's helpful. So I'll start with City College as a master's student, how I got this summer research opportunity. was actually really similar to what Navita and Dr. Block said. I was in Professor Shuve's advanced calc class, and I went to his office hours all the time because I really needed help with that class. And in speaking with him throughout the semester, I found out about the tremendous research he's done in his career. And I asked him, knowing that I have an interest in more applied math, I asked him if he ever did anything more applied, because his research or the things that he's published has tended to be a little bit more abstract and fascinating. But like I said, I was looking for something more applied, and he had an article that someone he knew had sent him this article on modeling metastatic cell behavior, and had asked him a while ago, to help with the modeling part of it. And so that's kind of how I read that article. I thought it was really an amazing opportunity. And so I took it and asked him if he would kind of be my advisor over the summer, and he did. So there's that. As an undergrad, I went to Smith College in Massachusetts, and I don't know if you guys have this as well in City College, but we just had, all the departments had the professors' emails and their research kind of listed, little bios. I know that we have that for the math department too. And the way that I got my my first undergrad research experience, I was helping a statistician, so one of the statistics professors. I was helping him build a computer cluster to be able to just crunch more data. And I did not have a computer science background. I was going to school majoring in math specifically, but that experience really helped me because it made me realize that I really needed to learn computer science. And to be honest, today, I think especially not just in applied mathematics, but in math in general and statistics as well, you have to have a pretty strong computer science background. I don't know if that's true for the other sciences, but I kind of learned that lesson in my first research experience in undergrad. And yeah, that's how I got that opportunity, just sending out emails, asking around. That's that.
Thank you very much, Brenda. Next we have is Shiranjut.
All right, I think I almost answered the entire question in my intro. So my first research opportunity, it was not something which I applied for. It was more it just came with the flow. So I think my advice would be to talk to your professors, your faculty, and also to go on the CCNY. Let's say that you want to get a research opportunity in optical physics, right? In optics. So just go to the CCNY website and see the list of the professors who are doing research in the optical physics department. For example, we have Professor Robert Alfano, we have Professor Sopan Gayan, we have Professor Vinod Menon. So you can get their emails from the CCNY website, and you can email them about this. Or if COVID wasn't a thing, you could go to the on the fourth floor, I think it's room number 419, where the physics department's professor usually hang out. So if they're free, you can go over there to meet them. Or you can go to meet them in their office hours if you can find their office hours from their syllabus. And also if you're taking a professor right now, whether it's a physics professor, a chemistry professor, any professor, you can ask them for advice and talk to them about this, because I got my opportunity to work in biophysics from a chemistry professor, even though I'm more of a quantum physics major. So yeah, just talk to your professors. Email professors who you have not met yet, and yes, I believe connections. Also, talk to your seniors. For example, I think almost every department has a club. We have the physics club, the chemistry club, the biology club. So go join the clubs, talk to the seniors, and they will link you to the professors who are doing the research which you are interested in.
Thank you, Shiranjut. Next, we have Navita.
So I think I spoke a little bit about how I got my first research opportunity, and that was just straight up through my overabundance of enthusiasm in botany and my professor, I just asked him if he had anything or he would ever have anything to just contact me because I would be super into it. And he went above and beyond and found me a grant and worked with the university, and I got paid to do something I would have done for free. So that was awesome. And one thing we didn't mention about how to find research opportunities is TAs. They're students too, and they want to help you because they are you. So if you find teachers are just a teensy bit intimidating, TAs are a little less intimidating and more easy to speak with. So just talk to everyone. They are really open to speaking with you.
Okay, next up we have is Caitlin.
Yeah, so I also think I talked most briefly about how I got my research experience. In general, I would say tips to get like your first research experience. In my opinion, I feel like emailing doesn't always work as much as maybe going to like events where they speak and give a lecture about their research, or some kind of city college event where you can actually see them talk and you kind of know like what are they about, what are their passions and so forth, and does this align with what I want to do and where I want to go. And so I think it gives you a chance, if you go to these events and such, to one, get to know who they are as a person so that you're not a random person emailing them saying, hey, can I join your lab? And two, it gets you the opportunity just to like go to them in person and say, hey, I'm like super interested in your research. If you like see an email from me, or can we meet up? Will you be able to like take me into your lab and so forth? And I think it was so much easier to just do that rather than email. Like when I was in high school, I used to email like hundreds of people and get no response whatsoever. And so I think that would be a really great start for people to find research opportunities.
Thank you, Caitlin. So on the form that everyone RSVP'd for, you can submit your own question for the panelists. So here's a question, and then we'll just kind of open it up for whoever wants to reply to this question. But there was a lot of questions about COVID, in particular, how COVID-19 has changed research for you, and how do you see it changing things moving forward? So we'll kind of open up to all the panelists. Whoever wants to reply to that question, feel free.
Yeah, so I can kind of speak on it first, I guess, since I'm actually at the ASRC. The ASRC was definitely shut down for the spring semester, which kind of screwed up like what I was doing in lab. But you know, I think the lab in general and everybody at the structural biology department kind of adapted to the situation. And so we made the most out of what we had to do. And so instead of actually doing like wet lab work and like protein purification and all of those simple basic lab procedures that you need lab equipment for, I kind of took the opportunity to do a lot of like writing and a lot of like literature reviews and stuff like that, which really just in general, it seems like a very small part of research, but I think it, like when you start doing the writing portion of it and trying to get out like a publication, it helps you really understand what it is you've been doing for the past, for me, it's been like 3 years. And so that was definitely what I was doing over the spring semester. And now that the lab is like fully functioning, I'm kind of doing the same things that I've been doing. The only thing that I will say is that for some researchers, I think they don't have, I think it's if you don't have external funding from CUNY, you can't do research for some reason. But for us, it wasn't really a problem. So I'm kind of doing the same thing that I've been doing now.
So coronavirus, as I mentioned, had canceled my entire life, and that included my research. My partner and I had spent fall of last year setting up how our research would go, and we were gearing up to collect a lot of data from children during the summer when we would have implemented our curriculum and gotten their feedback, gotten their parents' feedback and their teachers' feedback, and that did not happen. So we had to just pick up and pivot and do a whole nother research. While that was incredibly hard, I think it's resulting in something really fascinating and very valuable. And now we just have another backbone to go off of once things are at their new normal, because we're not entirely sure if it will go back to what it used to be. And in addition, I'm more of like a botanical, outdoorsy, researchy person, which means we do a lot of field research. And that's sort of just looking at plants and being like, that's that plant. And then you write it down and then you give it to a research assistant to cross-reference with other people. So that field has not really been impacted, but my other research has.
Yeah, well, I think I can vouch for the fact that there are some certain parts of research which have been impacted with that. So my research is almost, because my research was with lab equipment, so that has been completely shut down. But I have a colleague who also works, who's also an undergrad researcher in the same lab, and she was doing a project earlier than me with the professor, and she used different simulation softwares like COMSOL and MATLAB to simulate like the chirality of the electric and magnetic field, and did a research project on that. So COVID has indeed shut down a lot of certain aspects and certain parts of the research. Maybe it even like it also like depends on the research. If your research is, let's say, theoretical, you can do it anywhere, then you would not have any problem with COVID in terms of that. But for experimentalists, I think it completely depends on the kind of research you want to do.
I can go just quickly. So for me, COVID also killed my project. I was doing almost 2 years of work with all coming together. I had gotten data that I was so proud of, and I was moving into my CRISPR phase, and I was going to start using CRISPR fully for my own project, because I had already been doing CRISPR, but I had been doing it for my mentor, and my mentor had already given me my own project, so I was going to be able to do my own CRISPR constructs. I was so excited. They were ready to go, and then COVID hit. But like I said, my PI was really supportive in transitioning us to a project that we could still feel like it was fulfilling to us, and we could still feel like, although it wasn't my CRISPR project, it was still something that I could be proud of. And apart from just my research at City College, I had also gotten accepted to the Stanford Amgen Scholar Program, which was a fully funded research program over at Stanford University in California. And it was a summer program. It was going to be the full summer almost, and I was really looking forward to that. And because I am a senior, this was going to be the last summer that I could do undergraduate research program. And I did get into the research game a little late. Like I said, I did join a lab when I was a junior. So my only summer was this summer to actually do a summer research program. So that was really disheartening for me to have not been able to do that. Although they did give me the opportunity to defer into next year. Sorry, my mom is sending kisses to my cat. So if you hear her, I'm sorry. But yeah, so I was able to defer that till next summer. I'm almost sure that still stands, but it's just this year I had, several conferences planned, including the summer research program. It was just when COVID came, it just kind of, it was a little depressing at the beginning to think I could have gone to 4 more conferences. I could have been in California for the summer doing research at a totally different institution. But, everything happens for a reason. And the work that I'm doing at the Emerson Lab now is still work that I'm proud of. And now I can say I just have 2 projects instead of 1. So, you always got to look at the bright side.
Jason, if I can jump in. I just want to emphasize a couple of things that the student researchers have mentioned. And one, Caitlin, great point about how much of research is being in the virtual library. most of what we do, 90% of research is in the library. If you don't have that base of knowledge, then it's very difficult to make heads or tails out of whatever data you collect. So, don't forget how important it is to actually, spend some time in that literature space, really beefing up your disciplinary knowledge, because that's really what's going to actually buttress your creativity, right? You can't come up with new ideas if you don't know what's been done before. And this is a creative endeavor, absolutely 100% creative. It's people are either creative or they are analytical. In this case, it's both. I also want to mention that, yes, COVID has affected everybody to some extent. People that are more computationally oriented or theoretically oriented, a little bit less so, but we're still missing things like community and the ability to just walk down the hall, to pop into your professor's office and just ask a quick question. Everything is really logistical and scheduled, and it's affecting everybody, your professors as well. But, just remember that everybody is in that boat. So when you get discouraged, just remember that, we're doing the best that we can under the circumstances, and that if you still are able to, because we also realize that right now, may not have the bandwidth to be able to do that. You are very, very busy, and online courses can be very challenging. But if you do have the space in your brain and in your time to do research, that there's many things that you can do. I will chime in and let you know that if you are a transfer student, for example, one of the students asked chat what to do if you are a transfer student and you don't have that community and that connection. I say, go for it anyway. Don't let your lack of experience at the college or the fact that you haven't taken many courses stop you from reaching out. There are many, many programs, especially in the REUs, that encourage students who are rising juniors or coming from community colleges to apply. So even if you haven't taken the advanced bio courses or chemistry courses or physics courses or EAS courses, just go ahead and apply anyway. Go for it out and talk to people. You're likely to not get turned away. But I want you to also just a word of warning for those of you who are planning on applying to PhD programs, and as new incoming PhD students are applying for an NSF graduate research fellowship, they are funding projects that are computationally oriented, projects that are not toward something that's computational, whether it's bioinformatics or structural biology, things like that, are probably not going to get funded. If you have the extra bit of energy and ambition and want to pick up Python, now's the time to do it. Because for the next couple of years, it's very likely that NSF is going to be going this route, because so many of us have had to put our long-term experiments on hiatus. And the college is also encouraging us to not take long-term bench experiments because of the potential interruptions. So just a little bit of a reality check so that you can make plans accordingly. And that's all I have to say.
I hadn't answered the question. Sorry, Jason, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I want to kind of reiterate, as a mathematician, as I feel like the research that I did is something that I was able to do completely remotely, because I used mostly computer software to model these things, and I feel like the adjustment with COVID wasn't very as impactful because I didn't need a physical lab. And I think that could be true. That's probably true for most math research, and even applied math research. Like I said before, I think it's really important to have a strong computer science basis when you're doing some math research in general. But even my experience in undergrad, I did 3 different projects. Like I said, one was specifically in computer science. Another one in undergrad was, I worked with a physics professor, and another one was in plant biology. So different applications of math in these fields. And all of them were modeling and creating simulations with different computer programs, and they were all done remotely. So I think I really encourage, probably in any of the sciences, because you end up using data and stuff like that, I think it's really important to have a good kind of background in computer science. And in this time, it was really helpful.
All right, thank you. So we have one more question. Actually, we do have a lot more questions, but at this point, we wanted to have open questions for guests. You guys can just ask the panelists any kind of questions. If not, we do have plenty more questions. We could ask them as well. But we kind of wanted to open it up to you guys who've attended at this point to ask any kind of open questions you like. I mean, some of you have been asking in the chat already, which is great. We've been replying to messages as soon as we can in the chat. But is there any questions you guys have that you'd like to ask the panelists? So if not, I'll ask a question. Oh, Boydre, Camden, I have one. Have any of you ever been denied an opportunity? I think this is a very relevant question because everyone thinks that success stories are all success, and there's not times where you get no's for answers. But yes, any of you guys want to answer this question?
So just like how I loved Professor Stalter, my botany professor, I also loved my, aquatic ecology professor. And I told him the same thing. And he's like, no. Like, okay, that it was sad, but clearly that did not stop or deter me. Because, hey, that's just one professor out of what, a zillion? It's okay, you'll find yours.
For me, I think it was more like I didn't get denied an opportunity, but I kind of not failed, but I didn't get that good of a result in my first freshman year doing research, because I didn't know that much about research when I came here. So I just did a little bit. It was more like I was learning computation than actually doing research. But I think even if you get denied an opportunity, it doesn't mean that it's the end of the road, because as long as you keep on applying for them, you're going to get some of them for sure. And as long as you go for them, you're going to get the experience that you need.
Yeah, that's actually a good point that Shiranjut had, because I think in my first lab experience, I was probably failing about this one experiment where you just put things in a tube and just test it and see if it works. It was failing for 3 to 6 months. So that was very brutal. But in terms of getting denied an opportunity, there have been many times where I emailed people and they've said no, or I've applied to other summer undergraduate programs and they've said, yeah, sorry, you're not the one for us. And it's perfectly okay to be denied initially from some kind of researcher that doesn't really know who you are. There's definitely plenty of opportunities to do research, and just because one person denies you an opportunity doesn't mean that you're not competent or not worthy to keep looking for opportunities.
Yeah, I can definitely piggyback off what Caitlin said. Just because I got the Stanford summer internship, don't think that I got every other one was Columbia, Yale were no, we don't want you, and then Stanford was the last one I got, and I was so happy. I was like, oh my god, thank God, because it was one of the ones I really wanted. But it was after rejection after rejection after rejection, and even before I even started my science career, I was told very early on that science wasn't for me. In my 10th grade chemistry class, my professor literally told me you had to have their approval to go into a higher level biology course known as IB Bio, because I was in a international baccalaureate school. And so in order to take that higher level biology class, your chemistry teacher made no sense to me. Your chemistry teacher had to recommend you. And my chemistry teacher told me straight to my face, as I was like 15 years old, science isn't for you. Like, you're not the top of my class. You're an average student. Like, she basically told me you're not going to be put in that class. And I was told super early like that, like, you know, science, bio, it wasn't my forte, like, don't even try. And I didn't let that stop me. I still went to college and I still put in all my applications, bio major, because that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to do science. I love science. Like, no matter what my chemistry professor told me, she didn't think I was good at it because I was an average student. It's like, okay, well, I came to college and I knocked it out the park. Why? Because I didn't let her words stop me, you know? And that's just how you always have to go at it. Like, one no is just a no. That's like, you know, one door closes, another one opens. Like, you're always gonna face rejection and people telling you that, you know, you're not gonna do it, and you have to always prove them wrong. Like, I mean, I wish I could go back to my, you know, my one to have my diploma, go back to my high school and be like, hey, look, what'd you say about me not being good at science? You know, I'm not gonna be petty like that, but, you know, it's just knowing that you have the capability. Like, if you really want to do it, you can do it. Like, you just have to put your mind to it and, like, really do the work. I know that sounds really cliche, but it really is what it comes down to, is that if you do the work and you put yourself in this mentality of, I can do it, like, I am good at science, what are you talking about? Like, you end up becoming that. Like, that is what you manifest. Manifestation is so real. Like, if you work towards something, you do the work, you put yourself in the environment with the people who are going to support that, you know, like my environment with CCAP, with the student council, with just like the division of science in general, the student council, being around all these people who have similar goals, who have ambition and who want to push to be better, and who aren't afraid to say, yeah, I fell along the road, I stumbled, but here I am, I'm still doing it. We push each other, and like that's what community is about. You know, you push each other to really be a team and like say, like, you know, you fell, I'm gonna help you up, I fell, help me up, like, well, let's keep going together. So I think that failure is like really like a huge part of like success, and like rejection, you know, rejection is a huge part of success.
No, I'll just chime in one little bit here. I've read a lot of papers on correlations between self-efficacy and success. Self-efficacy being how you view yourself, and that people tend to, you know, you gotta kind of have this like this armor in front of you, you know, that you're gonna get denied many times. You're gonna get a lot of no's. You're gonna get more no's than you get yeses, you know, and that's okay. It doesn't mean that you're less than. It doesn't mean that you're not as capable as anyone else. It just means that someone and you didn't line up right. You know, but that's okay. It's just their one opinion, you know? So make sure that when you hear these no's and get denied stuff, don't let it shake you and say, well, all right, I applied, they denied me, so I'm just gonna give up at this point. You know, you wanna keep your head up and not let that kind of hold you down, you know? So yeah, just to kind of reiterate what was already said here, but. Okay, well, at this point, we actually went past the time for this whole group. I wanna make sure,
well, there's 2 or 3 quick things, Jason, if we may.
Oh, yeah.
So we also just wanted to plug a few things. First is our Division of Science Student Council, which is what put today's event together. We don't think that enough students know that there is a council that represents you. Jason, do you have the mission statement that you could read quickly?
Yes, I have that. 1 second.
And we're always looking for student involvement. Jason has the mission ready to read in a moment, and I've posted it multiple times in the chat, the email address. If you're interested in joining, please send us an email. All are welcome.
So the mission statement for the Division of Science Student Council is that the Division of Division of Science Student Council, we call it DOSI, brings together leaders from biology, chemistry, earth and atmospheric science, mathematics, physics, and now recently sustainability also join us as well. We aim to enrich the City College student experience with the following key points, which is accessibility, collaboration, connection, and mentoring. This is a really great group of people, and if you're interested in research, then here's a good place to start. You know, we're a community of people at City College here, and we would love to get to know you more.
Another quick thing to just plug quickly is we have, within the Division of Science Student Council, we've recently started a Masters in Science Club. Brenda's shaking her head. I see her. She's the president. I believe Bruce is on the call as well. He's vice president. I'm not sure if he's still with us. I know Navita is joining the group as part of the Masters in Science Club. Jason and I are a part of the Graduate Constituent Council on campus, where we want to ensure that we're representing all of our bodies of students, not just undergrads, but master students as well. And so if anyone is interested in particularly joining that, please also email us. Another quick thing I wanted to share, and Denise is part of CCNY Women in Science, so am I, and they have an event this Thursday. I'm going to copy the RSVP link there. CCAP's also represented. I know the Division of Science Dean's Office has asked us to please promote this as well. So this should be going out, I believe, via email from the multiple mailing lists that we have. And I am posting a link here to RSVP. Please RSVP if you're interested in that event. And then next Tuesday, we are going to be having our second part of this event. It's the Special Research Opportunity Fair event, which is going to be kicked off by our very own Dean of Science. Dean Perkins will be talking to us first about her opportunity to share with you all. And it's going to be the same Zoom link. I will send another email about that out as well. And I think that was all I wanted
Christine,
to share.
can I just add a little bit more thing about the Thursday's event?
Please.
Yes, it will be good. I know a lot of you are asking about how to find opportunity. That is going to be a good networking opportunity for you to talk to the dean from Memorial Sloan Kettering. You never know. You may be able to connect, share your concern, or like you want to do research at Memorial Sloan. That something may happen on Thursday. So we do encourage you. It's actually the dean that is coming to talk to the student. So it would be a good thing to connect with him. Maybe you get an opportunity to work at Memorial Sloan. Thank you.
Okay, well, that's it for the student research panel. Thank you very much, everyone, for coming here. And we'll stick around if you have any other questions.